Welcome to Trading Lounge and the indices, and here we're looking at the SP500, the SPX, and we're looking at wave 4 here going up to wave 5, and I'd like to look at the S&P and the NASDAQ, same direction, much the same count, but just a slight little difference. In this particular instance here, we're just going to look at from primary wave 4, we're going to look for 5 waves up of intermediate degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now on the NASDAQ, we're going to look at it a little bit differently. We're going to look at it as this move up here as just wave 1 of the intermediate wave structure here, so a much bigger move to the upside. So we're just going to look at them slightly differently, and I will be able to verify an answer on that in due course as I look at stocks and how they move up at this point. Not that it makes any difference, because this particular move to the upside here is in 5 waves, and we'll be looking at that. So let's just go, we're just going to pick it up. We're going to pick it up from this wave 4 low here on the 15-minute chart, just to come in here, and this is the move that we're looking at. So I can count this up a little bit differently on the NASDAQ too. So I've got sort of a little bit going on here, but let's just put the count on this one here. So it's a little bit complicated, but if I put this here, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going up there. So in this case, we're moving up still into that wave 3, and then in that wave 3 we're looking for 5 waves, so we of the next degree smaller, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there, and then inside that we have another little 5 wave structure here as well here. Now this little dude that's floating over here, that's okay, yeah, that's right, sorry about that. So that's that really. So in a bit of a nutshell, we're looking at a little wave 4, 5, and 4 and 5 here for this, then an ABC for this 4, and then this 5 here. Now, you know, I've done this here as a bit of a long sort of story here, the way that I've counted all this up here. So it's a little bit sort of higher to the upside. That won't be as sharp as that going to the upside there, and it may not even reach that level there, but the main point here is that all these extra waves here, that may not be the case. There is a count where we can have this wave 3 as the top here. But with stock, when I'm looking at stock, it's quite clear, and probably also with the DAX and the FTSE as well, we'll be able to see that, is that we're heading into the top of wave 3. We still need 4 and 5. So basically we can have this as 4 and 5 and have a top in here at this point. So we'll just keep an eye on that at that top. And the other obvious thing here is coming into the old highs here. So it's not really going to go that far at this point. It's going to, these can be a lot lower at this point. So just be a bit mindful of that, because at the end of the trend, the market tends to sort of creep around a little bit. So it may not push up that much. We've also got Trump in the next session having a speech. So it'll be interesting to see if he gives any sort of hype to the markets, or he'll be keeping quiet about them, especially after he's doing his own coin as well at the moment. But hey, for him it may be an opportunity to talk about something of that nature. Okay, so that's that. Let's cruise over and have a look at the NASDAQ, and I need to go this way for that. Okay, so we've got the NASDAQ. It seems to have caught up a little bit as well, and it's also approaching this particular high over here as well. And once again, we'll be looking at this as a impulse wave to the upside. So we're just going to pick that up on the 15-minute chart, just to cut to the chase here. And we're going to label it here. So I've got this counted a little bit differently here as well, so it's worth sort of noting. So I've got the 5 waves here for the first wave. It makes sense. We've got a nice strong third wave here, the 4th and the 5th, and pull back for 2 here. and then in this instance here, the next 5 waves up will be this one here. So we have wave 1 to here, wave 2 to here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for the third wave. So we'll have the third, fourth, and fifth here. Then we'll have the fourth and fifth here. So yeah, so this is a little bit shorter than the S&P going to the upside in terms of how many waves that there are. So it's just something that we'll need to work through, and at the same time we'll tie some of these stocks that are have got the same count, such as Amazon, for example, but I'm not going to go into all of those now. We just did that video, so you can go see that. Yeah, so this one's a little bit sort of shorter to the upside. Now, obviously, we're also approaching the old high for this over here, and we're also at a large number here as well with lots of zeros on it. So it's, it would make a bit of common sense that yes, we will be pushing higher, but at the same time, the market will be slowing down in here unless there's any sort of comments from Trump that will, push the market up even further. It's always easy to extend a trend, an impulse wave to the upside. But yeah, in the meantime, because we're approaching this high here, it will just be logical and sensible to not look for a top, but just sort of count it as an ending pattern, the beginning, the middle, and the end. So we'll see how that goes. So there's a slight different count between the S&P and the NASDAQ. So we'll be able to resolve that as as it unfolds further. Okay, so I'm just going back to the daily chart here. So it's just a clean pathway to get to the next market, and we'll look at the DAX. So the DAX is fanging it to the upside here, but at the same time, we also want to sort of call it in with the S&P as well, because basically all these sort of indices on an intraday basis, they really sort of work together quite sort of nicely. Now, the obvious thing here is we can see this strong move up here, so we really need to identify that with the third wave. So we're identifying this first one here with wave 1 here, and 2 here, and 3 here. So we're just looking at the top of the third wave coming into play. We're still missing the fourth wave and the fifth wave here for this. Okay, so let's just go straight into the FTSE is much the same as this as well. So we'll go to the 15-minute chart, and we'll pick it up from the low here. Now, I've got all of this from this low here going up here as wave 1 and 2 here, but there would be an argument to have this as wave 1 to here or to here. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, that would also be a case. But there's no denying, whichever way you want to look at it, that this here would be the third wave to the upside at this stage. So as I mentioned, I've got this as 1 and 2 here, and we're looking for 3, 4, 5 up here. So I could extend this one up a little bit further, but I'm just going to have this as 4 and 5 here. So this is even shorter still than the other markets. Okay, so it's this wave 2 here that we'll be looking for the next opportunity to jump aboard this particular move here. So yeah, I could, this is even shorter than the NASDAQ, this particular move here. So it could play out that, I don't like to make things any more complicated than they are, but based on the other markets, we could expect something like this to get up there, and then the ABC. But as I mentioned before, we don't really have this wave 4 in here just yet. We need some, with a wave 4, it's normally that wave 4 normally would, break the trend line through here somewhere. Do you know what I mean? And it hasn't really broken this trend line over here. It's wave 4 breaks the trend line, and it hasn't done that. So we haven't identified wave 4 yet, and it's quite sort of normal when we get to large numbers. This 21,500 here would be good. It would be normal to see what would happen at this level is that we would have the arrival here, some type of correction, which would be the wave 4 here, then the wave 5 to the upside here, and then the ABC pattern. It'll be more like this to me, not perhaps as big as this, but something very clean and clear as this. So we don't really have that over here yet. So we don't have a top in place for this at this stage. Okay, we'll be looking for something a little bit more, a bit more robust from this. And also to the wave 4 here, all in all, from here to this, if I take it to the 2100 here, it could pull back into this space here to the 38.2%, roughly speaking. Doesn't have to, but it's always a good thing. And if we take the extension as wave 3 in here, wave 3 can also just have a little bit of a move up here further, and I can readjust this, but I've sort of pulled this apart here with a fine-tooth comb, and I'm kind of happy with it. But like I said, if we have to look at this as 1 and 2 here and 1 and 2, then we're going to have a different type of top here for this, but we're still a fair way off from having a top in play here, and I can see this with some of the stock there as well. So just a little bit more time, but let's just see where the FTSE is as well, because when you start sort of grouping them all together, because they're all doing much the same thing, they've got their own little footprint, DNA, fingerprint, whatever, but they're all kind of moving the same on an intraday basis, so they're not far off each other in all of this. So let's just go over to the daily chart and look at the FTSE here. That's also moved up quite nicely. Okay, so we've got this, this large correction across here, and as I mentioned before, we could look at this in Richard Wyckoff terms, in terms of all of this move from this top here all the way over to here. It's really an accumulation process. So we can normally square the time that it took over here, unit for unit, with the price that will come up here further. So I see that we got a fair way to go up here. So in a bit of a nutshell, we are looking at this here as a wave 1, 2 here, looking for the top of the third, and we can see that we're starting to get overlapping wave structures here. So there'll be some sort of fourth wave here and some sort of fifth wave here, then an ABC, and then up again at this point for third and fourth and yada 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 to the upside. So we're looking for this first impulse wave to the upside, and we're very close to the top of wave 3, whichever way you want to look at it. And it's quite normal, I mean, I always say there's about 3 different types of patterns generally at a level, and when I say a level, in this case, the top of wave 3 here, when this market came up to wave 3 over here, it could have reacted here and dropped back. So it didn't do that. It's actually gone above it. So when a market normally does that and goes above it, then it can swing back below it and find that level, that price point, wherever that is over here, and we always gravitate to the closest largest number. So this would be 8,500 here. So it didn't really react at the 8,500 here. It just sort of pushed through a little bit. So when we look at patterns like this here, I say that there's sort of 3 basic patterns. This is the most common pattern, and then there's this one here, which is the second most common pattern, where it doesn't drop below the level. But it still has the arrival here. So the one that we're looking at the moment hasn't got the arrival here. It just went straight through, and it's come up, but we're seeing weakness up here now. So we can expect it to come through here. And if we consider this the 8,500 here, this is the type of pattern that we could look for over here. Now, how big and complicated this corrective wave gets is something that we'll need to sort of navigate. But that here, based on the 15-minute chart, we'll drill in here and take a look at this here for this. So this will be, still need a bit more data here for that, but if I bring, here we go, if I bring this in here and label this here. So from this wave 4 low, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here for 1 and 2 here. And we've had this strong move up here. So I've counted up here as 5 waves. I think it's okay. It's a little bit sort of, it's pretty dodgy in here, but, no more dodgy than a whatever. Be careful what you say. Yeah, so, and then we got a little 5 waves here that we're looking for yesterday, so we can nail that in. So we could be at this wave 4 here that can pull back to these wave 4s of 1 lesser degree. It doesn't have to, but we are looking for some, as I mentioned, we're looking for some type of you know, ABC pattern here, and then up here for this, and we'll look to take profit on. And then we're looking for an ABC. Now, how far it pulls back to the 61 point? It could pull back to cover this gap here. It could pull back 40%, 50%, 60%. Could pull back 80%. Who knows? All we need to do is just track the actual internal pattern on this. But once we have it and we get the first impulse wave up, we'll be moving in on that again. So, but that's kind of where we are. So it's kind of interesting to see where this particular pattern is. Now, sometimes with markets, you know, they wait for bigger markets and they can just basically fill in some times, and when they need to fill in some time while other markets, bigger markets, need to do their thing, because most of them will top at the same time. So this way, for if this is kind of advanced here in this top here, then this wave 4 could get quite complicated as it basically waits for the S&P and NASDAQ to actually find its wave 1 up here, do you know? So that it could fill in the time just on this. So we just need to be a little bit careful about that. But all in all, everything's looking pretty good here for this market, but we do not have that fourth wave in yet. We do not have the fifth wave. And even though that I've got this profit target here, I've got it at the beginning of group 2. So we're talking about trading levels now. So trading levels is 5. Here the 500, then the 800. We talk about 800, we talk about group 2, so the 72 and the 65 here. So it could go up here further than this as well, you know, because wave 1 is quite quite huge, really, isn't it? You know, and I've drawn wave 5 here, quite small. So we'll need to tie this top in with the DAX and the other indices as well to get some sort of idea, you know. But there's always a beginning, a middle, and end to a trend, and this is the beginning, this is the middle, and we'll go into the ending process, which we're kind of starting now, you know. So if you've got leverage and you're paying overnight financing with CFDs, then taking some money off the table here is not such a bad thing, and the rest of it up there, you know, you don't have to be greedy. Always take a balanced view of things. Alrighty, so let's just go to I'm just going to clean my mess up. I'm going to go over and look at the Aussie market. So I'll just put Humpty Dumpty back together here and go this way and go this way. Then we come over to the Aussie market. Now, with the with the Australian market here, you know, if you know this, I'm putting wave 4 in here now. You know, the move up here, as I've always said, you know, could be counted as corrective. We could have an ABC here for the A wave here, then the B wave here, and then the C wave up here, and finish here. But if it's in line with the other markets, then we should be bullish. That means that we should be, you know, basically heading higher up this way, you know. Coming into the old tops here, like most of the other markets, then, you know, or the S&P and the NASDAQ, and this is kind of in line with those. The DAX and the FTSE are pushed above that, so we could line this up really with this is really where the NASDAQ and the S&P are, so we could sort of put that here and then look for an ABC pattern here and then push up here. So the best way, you know, well, we've got to find a way to be bullish with this. So there's a couple of different ways. We could go 1, 2 here, and then 1 and 2 here, and then this is the third wave. So if we did that, let's just have a bit of a look at that, because I don't have all the answers. If we take this here as a little 1 and 2 in here, this will be the third wave here, this will be the fourth wave, this will be the fifth wave up here, then we'll have another move here, and then this one, and then we'll have this, you know, and we'll take it to this point. So in this case, this would be I'll just map this out here. I'll just use this intermediate one here. It's not the right one, but and that will be this is just being this will be the 5 waves up there based on that. So we'll look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the third, fourth, fifth. Now, if that's not the case, then we'll have to put wave 1 over here and wave 2 over here. And then this wave 3 here would come over to here, and this wave 4 would come to here, and then this wave 5 would come to here, and then we're one wave short of where we should be. So this is something that we're trying to figure out with the S&P and the NASDAQ. That's why I'm sort of running sort of 2 counts, and we could use the DAX and the FTSE because they're kind of like their counts are quite clear that they're at the top of the third waves at the moment. So it may be just this one here. So this is the thing that we need to resolve here. Okay, so I'm just going to Just going to remove that. So all I have been doing so far is just counting up in 5 waves up here. So we'll continue to do that, but do understand that we are approaching the top, and when we're approaching the top, we always gravitate to the closest largest number, and in this case it's the 8,500. So between 400 and 500 there will be the levels in there, 1, 2, 3, 5 and 8, and then the little group 2 in there as well. So you can work all of those numbers in there as well. So let's have a look at this here. So this little move from the low here of this wave 4 here, we could look at it as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, or we could look at it as, well, we could just do an ABC for 1. Do you know? I kind of like it looking at it as let me just see that. Yeah, I kind of like going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even though it's overlapping. But anyway, it's a mystery to me at this particular point in time, so I need to, consider all the different facets of that, which I just explained, which is just 2 different counts. And in the meantime, we can just, I'm just focusing on this particular trend moving up here. So in this case, we've got 1 and 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and going up for 5 here. And we talked about this yesterday here, that we still needed to look like we still needed to move up here further. Yeah, so we still need to move up, but you do understand that at the 8,500, it's going to be a little bit of a brick wall. I could see that this move here is probably corrective. This move, actually, what we can do now is just go to the futures market, and the futures market is here, and this is it. This is what I've got here in this count. So because obviously it's moved overnight, so we've got 1 and 2 here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've got 5 up here. This is a bit complicated in this little area here, and I get that, but what I was looking for here, now I've got the full count here, was from this low here as 1 and 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for the 3rd wave, the 4th wave, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So we do have that top in play here now, and we are starting wave 4 here. So we're doing the same thing as the FTSE at the moment. Okay, so this can pull back 38.2%. It can pull back to the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree. We can just, this is the futures here. So yeah, 38.2%. So it can drop down to here further. How this pattern plays out here, will it just be pretty much a straight line down here? Will it get more complicated? We'll need to see. Oops, Daisy. We'll need to see. But I can see at this stage, and you can too, that we've got down here as wave 1 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like we're coming down further here on this. So we could end up getting, we just don't know, always wait for the first wave to complete itself. So we could end up with some sort of ABC that's pretty sharp here, or we can end up with something that's an A and a B and a C wave here, and then move up. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, by tomorrow we'll be able to see a little bit more about that, and also check out the banks as well. We can do that. So if I come back here, I still feel like I'm a bit short here. I can see we've got wave 1 here and 2 here. Then we've got 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I feel like I'm still 1 short here, but it doesn't really matter. It'll be something like this. Thursday, it is Thursday, isn't it? Thursday in the bullish weekly cycle has got a habit of opening higher and then trading lower for the day. So we'll just see how that goes. But, this is sort of where we are at the moment with this. So that's that. I'll just have a look at, have I got CBA here for this? See, I was looking at CBA here as an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave here, and then moving up from this point. But we'll see if this gets any more complicated. It's a nice C wave down here. It gives 5 waves. We've got 1 and 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So it looks okay, and then 4 and 5. So it looks okay as a C wave. So, we still need to go up here further for the banks. So I would imagine for CBA here, just shooting the breeze here. I'll have to check with Shane though. Is that we'll look at coming to the old highs here as wave 1, and 2 be smaller than that though. And 3, 4, 5 up here. That type of thing. Alrighty, I'll leave it all at that. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.